Now, I just want to take you to some breaking news. It's a story that we've been talking about here on BBC News this morning, and it relates to Oscar Pistorius, the athlete. Oscar Pistorius, it was his second chance at a parole hearing on Friday. We heard from our correspondent. There is a press conference there that's going on at the moment. This is after he was wrongly ruled ineligible for early release from prison in March. Let's take a listen.
Applied evenly across the board without fear or favour. And if those are the rules and Pistorius has met the requirements, then so be it. My personal view on that is not important. Again, I can't see into June's mind, but I think that you heard when I read out the victim statement that I believe her view being that if the parole board are of the opinion that he's met the criteria for release on parole, then I believe June will be okay with it. But I can't read inside her mind. I can only interpret what she said.
So, as somebody who campaigns against gender violence, Oscar Pistorius has never accepted that he deliberately killed Reeva Steenkamp.
Yes.
How does that go down with you, and how will that look for South Africa?
I think that my personal opinion is that part of that road to rehabilitation is acknowledging what you've done and being accountable for what you've done and being man enough or person enough to say, yeah, I did it, and all the consequences that go with it. Not just lip service, because lip service is easy. It's easy to say sorry when I've been caught. Your actions have to be completed with deeds in the way you conduct your life. So I'm not sure if that answers the question, but that's my feeling. And I think it's pertinent to take into consideration the conditions that have been given to Pistorius. I think that's quite important. Remember, he's not a lifer. He did not get a life sentence. The rules for life sentences are very different. But I'm just the dad. I'm not the lawyer.
Some people might say that the sentence is actually quite lenient in the first place. I think to serve 6.5 years for the murder of a woman, a defenceless woman, is not, acceptable.
But I go back. If that's what the law says, and if those are the rules, then we need to question the rules. We can't question those who interpret the rules and make decisions on those rules, because I think that leads to chaos and mayhem. I think as a law-abiding country, and I believe the majority of us want to be law-abiding people, and if those rules aren't adequate or too lenient, then that's where that issue should be addressed. Okay, thank you very much for your time, and thank you for your interest.
Thank you. So that was Rob Matthews. He is a friend of the Steenkamp family. Of course, you will remember that Reeva Steenkamp was shot and killed by Oscar Pistorius on Valentine's Day 2013. In the last few minutes, to remind you that he has been told that he will be released on parole. This was after a South African parole board approved his conditional release, and he is due to be released on the 5th of January next year. So just to reiterate that news that has just broken within the last few minutes, and you heard there a family friend of Reeva Steenkamp saying not happy with the rules, not happy with this decision, that the South African parole board has been told that the Oscar Pistorius, his parole has been approved on conditional release, and he is due to be released on the 5th of January next year. Now you are watching BBC News. Do stay with us. We are just bringing you that news there about Oscar Pistorius. You'll remember Oscar Pistorius, the global Paralympic superstar. You remember that back in the Olympics in London back in 2012, that he was competing in the Olympics itself. And then less than a year later, this is on Valentine's Day 2013, he shot and killed his girlfriend, Reeva Steenkamp. Reaction in South Africa, where he's been in prison, to the news that he will be approved conditional release, due to be released on the 5th of January next year. Let's take a listen.
Because the reason for monitoring is not to punish inmates, but is to assist them in their social reintegration efforts. So for now, I think I'll want to end there, except to say, just like all other parolees, Mr. Pistorius will be monitored by our officials based within the system of community corrections, and until that will happen until such time that his sentence expires, because we always make it a point that parole placement does not mean the end of a sentence, but it merely says that you will complete your sentence outside of a correctional facility, which is part and parcel of rehabilitation efforts. I thank you, colleagues. Unless there are a few questions, I'm willing to take that.
When you say monitored, do you mean he's going to have an ankle bracelet?
Okay.
What's the monitoring? What's the nature of the monitoring?
Okay.
And then second of all, Mr. Matthews just gave us a list of the alleged parole conditions. Are you able to confirm that those are in fact the conditions?
Okay, thank you. In South Africa, we do not utilize the bracelets that you'll find in other countries, but we have officials in our system of community corrections. It's a branch, it's located across the country. Those officials' responsibility is to monitor parolees and probationers. So what will happen is that Mr. Pistorius will be allocated a monitoring official. So this is the official that will work with him until his sentence expires. If there are changes, they will engage. Why is it important to have a monitoring official? When a parolee is out there, there are many things happening in his life. It could be the change of an address, securing employment, or starting a business. All those things do matter, because we have to be informed about each and every activity, or in case a parolee is moving from one province to another province, even if it's not long term, we have to then alert our officials on the other side that be on the lookout. We have a parolee coming to that particular site. So it's very important that a parolee has that relationship with the monitoring official, and they then work out a schedule in terms of the visits at home, coming to our offices, unannounced visits. But I want to repeat, the intention is not to make life difficult for a parolee, but is to assist that person that, one, is complying with those parole conditions, two, that an inmate is able to reintegrate successfully. In terms of the parole conditions, I'll opt not to detail myself on those.
Reaction there to the news which has broken in the last few minutes that the convicted murderer, Oscar Pistorius, has been told that he will be released on parole. This is after a South African parole board approved his conditional release. He is due to be released on the 5th of January next year.